Hi, hello, I'm Bonbon. Nice to meet you. Let's just jump right into it because this has been a long time coming. Now, back when I first started YouTube, I talked about the True Beauty K-drama, A Taste, when it came out and finished. And I want to say it came out in 2020. I'm pretty sure we watched it right in the middle of the Panini, right? Okay. And now the Webtoon has finally wrapped. Now, it was probably wrapped a little earlier this year, but I didn't do any of the fast passes or anything like that. So I finished it probably like 2 months ago or something like that. Something like that. And I kind of just want to talk about that, like the compare and contrast, things that happen in the Webtoon, things that happen in the K-drama, things that lingered more than it ought to have, things that we didn't explore as much as I would have hoped that we would have. Okay, so the True Beauty Webtoon was created by Yaongi, and it first hit April 2nd, 2018, which might actually be around the time that I started reading for real. Ooh, I think I was there for the beginning. Okay, and then so on and so forth, later to be adapted into a K-drama. Great. Alright, so the lead characters are Lim Joo-kyung, Lee Soo-ho, and Han So-jun. Okay, those are the big three. Now, Lim Joo-kyung is a high school girl who has a lot of acne, basically. Skin not perfect. Who would have thought? A teenage girl not having perfect skin. Unbelievable. But she gets bullied mercilessly. Like, I mean, the kids at her school was just... I ain't seen nothing like that. I don't... Them kids in that school was different. She was bullied so bad, you guys, that she was just ready to end it all. But she said, well, let me learn how to do makeup. So she went and learned to do some makeup tutorials, right? And the first attempt that she did went terrible. She came out looking like a clown. They clowned her harder than ever. She said, no, this won't do. I've really got to sit down. I've got to figure this out. And so she does, right? So then, I don't know if it's the same school year or the following school year or something, whatever. Some time passes, she learns how to do makeup like real well, right? And now she is like the it girl at school. She is beautiful. People adore her. They're like, oh my gosh, she used to be a dork and now she's not. Oh my gosh. Whatever, right? Maybe it was like a middle school thing and then she went to high school and learned how to do the makeup and then she was able to, yeah, I think that was it. In middle school, they used to bully her so bad. She went to high school, learned how to do makeup. She's a brand new girl now. So she keeps that charade up for a while, and I call it a charade because she is mortified. I mean, she is mortified that her face is actually going to come out. So she's like trying to scrub like any pictures of herself on the internet. She's not trying to have no associations with anybody back in the day kind of thing, right? Like she is completely... And when she do go out, she don't look like her makeup self. I think they moved to like maybe a different side of town or something like that so she could get away from the bullying so that people just won't recognize her when she doesn't have her face on, right? In comes Lee Soo-ho, right? So they bonded at a bookshop actually over horror books, I think. Joo-kyung is super into like Junji Ito and other like monster books kind of thing. Like that is her jam, which you wouldn't think, which is supposed, it's kind of like not like other girls kind of thing, because she's like a girly girl and she's like, you know, glitter, lip gloss, makeup, skirts, dresses, purses kind of thing. When she gets home and she puts on like, you know, her t-shirt and sweatpants and she pulls that hair up and then she's got like the spooky comics and stuff. So she's like two different people. So she meets Soo-ho while she's in her real form, you know, in her real life. So she had her hair up, baggy clothes, blah blah blah. They was at the bookshop or whatever, and there was a book that she wanted and he took it and she was like, hey yo, you saw me reaching for that book. And he was like, did I? Because like I really want this one too. And she was like, well, I was going for it first, so you're gonna have to cough it up. So then they have like a little tit for tat or whatever, but then they realize like, oh, you're into the same things that I'm into. So then they got like cool or whatever, right? Then when the new school year starts, she realizes that he go to her school, right? So she's like, oh my god, I have to tell him to shut up. I have to tell him not to, like, don't rat on me, don't tell nobody about my face. And Suho, you know, he don't really care about that, because it's not about the beauty for him, but the person's personality and their soul, who they are on the inside. So he just likes this girl, just like off GQ. Like that's his homie, and he like has feelings for her or whatever. But he not saying that. He playing it cool. And Jookyung's the type of girl that doesn't notice this kind of thing. Like he could like dead ass be flirting in her face, and she would just wouldn't know. She's kind of like, can we talk? Jookyung's kind of a bird. Like she's kind of a duck. Like she just doesn't like. She's one of those people, right? Okay, let me say this delicately. She's one of those people that had such a hard time in her younger life that when people are genuinely interested in her, she doesn't see it, she doesn't believe it. She's like, fallacies and fairy tales, like it's not even happening to me. Just over her head, it doesn't compute. So that's pretty much her with Suho. So he's not like overtly flirting with her, right? But he's not like not showing interest in her too, which is like, as the trope goes, like, oh, he's too good for the other girls in school. Nobody's ever caught his eye before, and he's just all about his studies. He's not even dating. Some people wondered if he was gay sometimes, because he's just like not interested. He's not about it. Until Joo Kyung Lim comes along. And then Han Seo-jun, he's like the bad boy of the school, right? Like he rides a motorcycle, you guys. He rides a motorcycle, you guys. Yeah, sometimes he skips class. He gets in trouble here and there. He might have had a squabble, a little squimmage a time or two. Sometimes he'll have like a cut on his eyebrow, or maybe a busted lip or something, you know. So boom, right? So now here's where we're gonna just really talk about what we need to talk about, right? That's the premise, right? Okay, first of all, Suho and Seo-jun are both into Jookyung. Okay, obviously, you know, like it's a webtoon, it's a K-drama, right? There's always gonna be the female lead, there's always gonna be the male lead, and then there's gonna be the second male lead. Okay, you know where this is going. Both of them are interested in her. She doesn't know that until she does figure it out, and then she's like, oh my gosh, who will I choose? My life is so difficult. So that's the premise of the K-drama, essentially. And in the webtoon, they start off in, I think we do get a couple scenes of her in middle school or whatever, right? And then we skip to high school fairly quickly so that the story can start getting into like how she learned makeup, concealing herself, blah blah blah. And then after we go through all of that, which lasts a while in the webtoon, because I told you we started in 2018, we just ended in 2023, okay? We do a time jump, right? So then after high school, we do a time jump. She's off in college. Everybody else is like off doing like they're adults now, right? Okay. A section of the story that I kind of wish that we would have just spent way more time on, which is the relationship between Suho and Seo-jun. Now, tuck in. This is gonna take a minute. So Suho and Seo-jun, in the today of things, as in the high school portion, right? We have to talk about this in portions. So in the high school portion of the webtoon and the K-drama, they are mortal enemies. They hate each other. It is up and stuck with them when they see each other. It's giving Tom and Jerry. It's giving Powerpuff Girls and Mojo Jojo. It's giving Sailor Moon and the Scouts versus the Negaverse, right? Like it's on site. They hate each other. But they didn't always hate each other. Oh no. They used to be great friends, the best of friends, inseparable. So what happened? There used to be a third person in their friend group, okay? His name was Yoon Se-young. And we don't get to spend very much time with him because unfortunately he passes away in the very beginning. So anytime we hear about him, it's like a flashback of them telling us what happened, right? So they used to be the three amigos. Suho, Seo-jun, Se-young. Now, Se-young wanted to become an idol. and he was on TV. He was doing like the what is it, like them idol competition shows or something like that, right? And he was like, yo, we should all like try to be idols together and do this thing together or whatever. And so June was like, I'm not mad into it, but like, that's my boy and he doesn't want to audition alone, da 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 da. So I'm gonna do it with him. Skip 2, they both pass auditions and then they're going forth to be like trainees or whatever. So they're trainees in the K-pop idol role, and Soyeon goes on the little TV show thing. I don't think Sojun did. Maybe he like branched off and did something that tastes different. I don't remember. It's 2018 when I read this, remember. And Suho, you know, was boys with them. And, oh, excuse me. I'm gonna hit my cat in the head. I'm sorry, Pook. I need to point out that Sojun and Soyeon, everybody in the series is Korean except for Suho. Suho is Japanese, and they used to give him a little bit of hell about that. But, you know, he fell into his little friend group, you know, the three amigops. And so they took him in, and it's like, ain't nobody finna fuck with you, you with us now, da 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 da. So Suho was like, well, I don't dance, I don't sing, but I do play piano, so I can back y'all up, I can help you practice, and I'm gonna be in the rafters, you know, cheering you on, woo, those my boys type shit, right? So all that goes on, whatever, and they're inseparable. Like they're a team. They are the friend group. Well, Soyeon starts having a hard time. There's like allegations coming out. You know how some of these reality shows will do like dirty, underhanded stuff, and they'll say like, oh, this is happening in the background, even though it's not quite exactly like that. So it started, like, things like that started coming out, and Soyeon was real favorable in the beginning, but then he kind of started to fall out of favor, and, you know, like rumors, and, you know. So that really started to get to him over time. So then they was talk to him, and they was like, hey, yo, you good? And he was like, yeah, you know, it's nothing. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. It's water off my back. Well, there came a point where it was too much. And Soyeon was trying to call out for help, right? And he called, I don't know if he called Sojun. I don't remember if he called Sojun. If he did, he missed the call. But he called Suho. And Suho didn't answer because Suho had just walked in on his dad, okay? Lee Ju Hyun. He's an actor. And he just walked in on his dad cheating with some woman, which I think she turned out to be like a co-star, something like that. But his mom either she was really sick, actively in the hospital, or she had just passed away, something like that. Like, Suho's mom doesn't make it, right? And either his dad was actively cheating while that was happening, or he just moved on a little too quick. Like, there was overlap. And so he walks in the door, boom, sees his dad got this chick all pressed up against the piano, something like that. It was a real bad look. So he backs out, and he's like, oh hell, I cannot deal with this right now. So he goes to cry in the car or in the elevator, something. He leaves to go cry. And that is the exact moment that Seon called him. So Suho just didn't pick it up. He was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna call him back later. I'm going through something right now. But that was the phone call. So incredibly sadly, Seon does not make it. And Suho and Sojun get the news. They run over there. It happens a little differently, of course, in the webtoon versus the K-drama. The K-drama, they really like played it up like they had them running over there, and they were like, no. But I think in the webtoon, is a bit more like maybe his parents called and said like, you know, this is what happened, and then so I think in the webtoon they just skipped to the funeral part, right? So after the funeral, they kind of just fell away from each other, you know, because Seon was the glue that held them all together. So now that he's gone, they just kind of fell apart. And there was a certain amount of animosity that they had for each other because Suho just felt, wretched that he missed the phone call, because that was the phone call and he was going through it, and he didn't have the spoons, you guys. So it's not his fault, but he feels personally like this is my fault. And Sojun also kind of feels personally like this is his fault. Like, if you had answered, which makes me think that Soyeon did not call Sojun, because Sojun just like feels like if you just had been there, if you would have just picked up the phone, maybe everything would be different. Maybe, I guess we'll just never know now because you was too busy or whatever. I don't know if Sojun knows that Suho didn't pick up because he just walked in on his dad, or if he was like, yeah, well, even still, our best friend is gone because you didn't answer the phone. So I think it's just like a bunch of grief that both of them just don't know what to do with. They don't know how to handle it. All they know is their best friend is gone. So because of that, they hate each other. So skip back to the high school that they're all at. And as it goes, Suho and Sojun, they're both the top students. They're like 1 and 2, right? I think Suho gets the top marks and like, I don't know if it's all the school or just like their class. I don't really, whatever. But then Sojun is number 2, right? Suho's the number 1 headband, Sojun's the number 2 headband, right? Which like really gets their goat even more, because they like neck and neck. They're not that dissimilar from each other, but let them tell it, yes they are. So boom, they hate each other. And then Jugyong was always friends with Suho because of their little book situation. But then she starts to become friends with Sojun out of happenstance, I think.